Hello and welcome, everybody. Today we have, I think, a great quote that we're going to share with you in a second again. But first of all, hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Noemi Hermiting. I'm an Inclusion and Diversity Officer at Fortschritt Bayern. And I am joined today by Furkan Karayel, keynote speaker, book author, and many other attributes that I haven't mentioned here, but that you can say in a second yourself as well. Maybe you would like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Furkan.
Sure, Naomi, thank you so much. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's great to be meeting you here. My name is Furkan Karayel. I am the author of the book called Inclusive Intelligence, How to be a Role Model for Diversity and Inclusion in the Workplace. But my background is very different. I worked in multinational tech companies for 10 big years as a software engineer, and 6 years ago, I made the transition. And you must be wondering, what is it that transition coming from? It came out of my frustration that we talk about diversity and inclusion, but the action piece has been always missing. Clear actions and clear examples were lack in the space and on the stages as well. And also, we started seeing the same group of people, the same profile, but there were so many stories hidden. That's why I'm here today, and it's always a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Naomi. I learned so much out of our conversations.
Thank you. I'm always happy as well that we share this space and that we have this dialogue between the two of us. Let's tell our listeners again what was a quote and what is a topic of today. So basically, we thought about this quote by Maya Angelou, which says, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Probably most of you know Maya Angelou. She was an American writer and also a civil rights activist. Maybe I can tell a little bit what this quote means for me. I think that she might try to actually tell us that it's maybe not a good idea, or we shouldn't conform to societal norms or what is considered normal, because we might really limit ourselves, or let's say we might not reach our full potential. Of course, it could have various reasons that we choose not to be our truly self, if we are not safe, if we don't feel safe at the workplace, etc. But for me, it could be interpreted in terms of, diversity advocacy by encouraging us or encouraging people to be who they are and not trying to blend in. Because in a way, I think that trying to fit in is a lot about assimilation, but ultimately it's not really about diversity anymore, because we should really try to accommodate everybody's unique experiences in the workplace. That's at least how I interpret her quote. What about you? Did I miss something? Is there something else you would add, Furkan?
Wonderful. I think the first thing came up to my mind, like you said, about this scarcity, not feeling secure enough to be able to present ourselves fully, or the hesitation of what is accepted here or not is the first thing comes up to my mind. And it's, I think, a very honest story here. I remember once I was in high school, and I was telling passionately about, do you know I have joined to this club, I'm doing this and this, to my sister. And she was listening to me there very, how to say, without any facial expressions. And I was like, okay, why is she behaving like this? And then afterwards she responded to me, Furkan, why are you not normal? And I was like, what? You don't see how great things that I'm trying to do here beyond my, the expectations of the school, beyond the expectations of my, parents and all these things. The question I still remember, Furkan, why are you not normal? Just go to school and do whatever the things were expected from you, and that just don't expect too much. Is this quote from my sister stayed for me for such a long time, and we both had like different mindset about schools. She didn't like school, she didn't like the way that was forced for her, but for me it was something completely different. That yes, that there were subjects that I didn't like, but I was always trying to make it more like fun for me to learn, to explore. So this quote from Maya Angelou, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be, always remind me that time. And I wish I could known this so that I could respond to her with this amazing quote.
Yeah, and we saw that this quote. Thanks so much for adding a personal story. I would want to share one as well in a second. But we tried to use, just so the listeners know where we want to get at. We tried to actually make a bond with that quote and thought about, well, actually, what is the impact of stereotypes on employment biases, right? Because of course, if we have an oversimplified idea, or let's say a preconceived notion of someone, it may really affect our choice maybe of hiring a candidate for a job, or choosing a colleague, or something like that. And I saw that, well, even though we don't have much time, but it's really important that we look at this, I think, from an intersectional perspective, because let's say a person who belongs maybe to an ethnic religious group, or belongs to a sexual minority, or a certain age group, does probably not have the same opportunities as, for example, a white cisgendered person. And I had an example that I would like to share, that I got, I heard this from a very talented person here in Germany, who was actually originally from Rwanda. And she has studied social sciences here actually in Germany, and is a founder of an NGO. So she has some kind of a self-help group for people who actually experienced racism. And she then had a job interview for a position that was part of an anti-discrimination agency. And, I was told that during the job interview, she was asked if she had written the application herself, because it was just perfect. And all our listeners now, they can ask themselves, well, first of all, would they ever ask this kind of question? But also, what does that mean about the preconceived notion of the employer, correct? Having a certain idea about that person that was sitting on the other side of the table,
So well said, Naomi. I think our questions reveal so much about our thoughts, our own biases. While you mentioned this, I would like to also share a research by Greenhouse in the year 2023 candidate interview reports. This is based on the US candidates. Out of 1,200 candidates, 34% of the people, the candidates, said that they experienced discriminatory interview questions about their either age, race, and gender, 34%. That is much beyond that I actually thought. And that's not only it, but 20% of the workers, nearly 20%, that's what they said, have changed their names on the CV because of these concerns. And they chose names they called it less ethnic, sound younger, or opposite sex names. And when we are sitting on the other side of the table as a candidate, it brings a lot of worries to us. And on the other side, when we are interviewing another person, I think we should also put ourselves into the shoes of the candidate and see how relaxed they are, how authentic they can be, or how open they can be to bringing their self to this job interview. That's going to be a little bit of a simulation of how the work probably is going to be like for them. What do you think?
I think this is a very good remark, reminding us, that there are several ways to actually find, a good applicant, because it doesn't always have to be the degree, right? Because, in Germany, we have the numbers, for example, that people, from that actually social background really has a decisive influence, on your educational success, and that also, of course, means on your professional future. So, children from non-academic families clearly have a disadvantage. And in the case of employment, HR, make unconsciously really prefer applicants that align with their own background, or, as you said, preferring maybe names that sounds ethnically familiar to them. So maybe it's a good idea to actually also change our questions while we have those job interviews, and really ask for like a problem. How would you resolve that problem? Because you really want at the end that somebody is hands-on and can resolve some issues, or that they actually, show or are able, to be resilient. Specifically in the case of disability inclusion, we have also a very high unemployment rate. I mean, it's actually twice as high as the general rate here in Germany. And I also think that people with a disability had to show a lot of resilience, already in their life. So why don't we also bring in all these qualities that all these applicants actually have to offer, and basically invite them, to share their personal story with us? Because, I always think that, if a company has a positive workplace culture, colleagues will also start sharing their lived experiences and their stories, What do you think?
So well said. And on the other side, the bias against CVs most of the time got stuck on the tools stage. It doesn't even move into the interview stage as well. It includes the biases that we inject in our AIs. It includes the tools that are learning from us how based on our behavior, or explicitly. I know some organizations are not including some keywords or like certain names, so that they are being filtered before these CVs comes in front of a HR or hiring managers. I hope that at least the filtering, that part that we can work on, and a bit more like clearer with injecting inclusion tools, so that when it comes to the interview itself, it's going to be also another story. And if I think I'd like to ask Naomi here that, for example, if you get asked about your name inappropriately on an interview, how would we respond to it? I get this question a lot because Furkan is a name in Turkey, mostly common for like male names. And I'm the only Furkan I know that are female women. So, and the first question I'm being asked is, oh, why your name is Furkan? And then people are expecting me to tell about my birth story. Were they expecting boys? And I said, no, that's not the case. But it's kind of like draining me in the conversation as if I have to explain to myself, like, if my name is Furkan, then call me Furkan, then that's end of the story. But unfortunately, this is not happening in Turkey, in my home country. So how would you respond to conversations like this, Naomi? I'm looking to hear your stories because I've tried so many different ways, and some worked, some didn't work in different contexts. And how would you respond? And what would be your message for our listeners on any discriminatory interview questions?
Well, I must say you caught me a little bit off guard with that question, but I would say that, it's always good to have your, questions, ready before, and when you have some of the questions that you want to ask the applicant, for example, I think we should always ask ourselves, well, if I flip that question to a woman, to a man, would I actually ask the same question, right? If we have, let's say, a woman, right, and who wants to have a full-time job, at least here in Germany, I can tell you that a lot of women will actually then have faced some kind of, let's say, discriminatory questions like, oh, well, who will be taking care of the kids then if you are working full time? Mm-hmm. If you actually mentioned before that you also have children, right? And so I think this task or this exercise of flipping the question, would I ask the same kind of question to every applicant, shows a little bit already about it. Oh, is it kind of judgmental, or is it actually free of any kind of judgments? That I think would help. But I think it's also important, that we have a diverse panel of people who can actually conduct these kind of interviews. It shouldn't just be one person, but I think it's important to have a look if we actually use gender neutral language, but also are we actually encouraging people to apply if they do not have all the qualifications? Because a lot of research shows that women, specifically women, when they do not have all the qualifications, they are less likely to apply for a job where men would actually apply. So I think we can do a lot to open up the space for more candidates,
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I think that is a good takeaway for everyone, including me. I ask the same question to another person. It's a very good way of checking in with us. And if we have a group of a number of interviewers, it would be good to give a feedback between each others as well, that hopefully next time people learn from each other's mistakes, and there's so much to do in this space. And thank you, thank you so much. And in terms of the experience as well, yeah, women are more likely to apply if they don't feel in the required experiences. And we are almost up on our time. Is there anything you would like to add, Naomi?
Yes, maybe, well, I haven't talked with you about this quote before, but I would like to share this quote with our listeners. Probably some of you have heard the quote by Amy Lynch. She's an equality advocate, and she actually said, "You are not responsible for your first thought, but you are responsible for your second thought and your first action." And I think it tells us that we can definitely do better, I hope you agree with this quote, Furkan.
I loved it. I loved it. I'm taking notes while you were speaking. And to give a heads up to our listeners, afterwards you will be able to view this talk on YouTube. We will be sharing it on LinkedIn. And we will have a summer break, and hopefully we will be continuing in September again. And if you have any thoughts about quotes that will inspire us, please do share with us. We are always looking for new ideas. And thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. And we hope to see you after the summer break. Have a good time. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.